What's up, guys? Welcome to the Hard Carry Podcast, episode number 1. We're here carrying CDL news straight to you. I'm here today with my co host, as usual, Catalyst. What's up, Cat?
Hey, what's going on?
Today, we are going to be telling you all of the news. We even got some breaking news today with some roster changes we're going to bring you. But we're going to bring you news from last week and then a little bit of an upcoming on this next week's matches. So let's get into last week's matches. So we started off the week actually Standy making his debut with the Vegas Legion. What do you think about Standy, Kat?
I think he performed a lot better than he was doing on Ultra, but also he has a little rivalry going on with Scrappy.
Can't
If
wait to see that.
any of you guys were following Twitter a little while back, you can see Stanley posting quite a lot on that, and it was pretty entertaining to follow either way though. But I think him with this Vegas squad, I think they look prime, honestly. Clayster's really taking on a leader role as he always does, and he brings the fire, and now he has a little bit of firepower to back him up.
Yeah, Standy bringing in the Gunny as they defeat Boston Breach 3 matches to 1 in Standy's uh, opening game with the Vegas Legion. We had 3 brand new players this weekend. We also had Yuli making his debut with the London Royal Ravens. Quite the opposite, though, as they lost both of their matches this week. What do you think about Yuli, Cat?
I honestly don't know what to think. I don't know what
Yeah,
they were
same.
thinking. I don't know.
I actually think they
I don't
got
know what's going
worse
on in
with that
the camp
change,
over there.
honestly. But
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you saw the Rick roll that was put on him by Optic.
yeah, LA Thieves also 3 0'd them this week. Same basically outcome. Didn't win a single map as they go into Yuli's first matches. And then we also had Fame coming in for Attach on the Minnesota Rocker. What did you think of Fame?
I think Fame. I think he found himself a little bit of a home that he can work himself into. The first game I noticed, what I was getting from him, in my opinion anyway, he seemed a little shy or maybe a little nervous on that first match of I believe it was Hydra Hardpoint. But after that, he warmed up. He started pulling the numbers out. He was getting over 1.1s, 1.2s,
Yeah,
1.3s,
he went 11
and
and
I mean
5 in
that's what we like
search.
to see. At first, I didn't believe that they were benching Attach. I thought that that was absolutely the craziest idea that I've ever heard in my life, you know. But
Yeah, I
it
didn't
was
much
gonna pay off.
understand that move either from Minnesota, but after 2 wins, remember they had 2 games on their little land this weekend
Hmm.
at home. They played in front of a home crowd on land, and they won both the matches that they played. Fame actually came through and ended up playing pretty well, um, in my opinion. But he was a college COD world champion, so that's something that's new to the scene is the college COD scene, and it's good to see some players getting a little bit of recognition and a chance from that.
Yep, definitely, definitely. I
Um,
mean, you don't see too many people coming into the league, like Ghosty coming straight in, straight to Optic, you know,
right.
and now it seems like we're gonna start seeing a little bit more of that, especially it, it, I want to say it costs a lot less than to buy out, a
Oh yeah.
superstar player. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think we're gonna be seeing a lot more tryouts at least of these college kids and the challenger scene.
One one shining star though for the LAG, even though they lost against Rocker this weekend, was Joe Deceives was playing out of his mind.
Yeah, he was absolutely crazy this week.
Yeah, but just not quite enough to beat Rocker in front of that home crowd they had going on. Um, we also had the LA Thieves beating Seattle this week, even though Pred went 15-6 in a search game. I mean, Pred was destroying it, but still not enough to beat the LA Thieves. LA Thieves 2-0 in the number 1 ranked position in the standings to start week 1. What do you think of the LA Thieves, Cat?
I think that they could pull a little bit more. Um, I think this year they played pretty well but they're not playing at the top of their game like we saw in Vanguard, And I'm not sure what's going on in their camp over there.
It took them a little
But
bit to get there, though, in Vanguard. If you remember, the beginning of their year wasn't so good, but then they made it and they won Major 5 and Champs. So maybe they're kind of rolling into it, as you can say. Maybe,
maybe trying to pick it up a little bit.
yeah. So we have the LA Thieves in first place, 2-0. We have the Minnesota Rocker also tied 2-0 in first place after their week. We have Optic in third place, 1-0 after Roland, the London Royal Ravens. They only played once, though, as well as NYSL only played once, and they beat FaZe. What do you think of NYSL beating FaZe in Map 5?
I think NYSL has been looking beautiful this entire year. And I mean, so is FaZe, honestly, especially the Search and
Hydra's
Destroy.
out of
But
his mind.
in a game like this, honestly, the skill gap isn't as high as the previous years. And so what we're going to see is these top teams are going to be going back and forth and, a little pit for a little pat. But I think anybody, honestly, in top T4 teams can really, it's kind of a 50-50.
Yeah, I think anyone can beat anyone at any time. And,
So for me, it wasn't too much of a surprise. But it
yeah,
was a good game.
I was surprised to just see FaZe lose a search because they've just been so good at search and destroy. Seeing them lose a map 5 like that was a little surprising. Um,
Yeah, I think that was their first loss in 13 games as Surge.
yeah. FaZe also 1-1 after the week. They won against Florida, but lost to NYSL, of course, like we were just talking about. Florida not playing so well. We'll talk about them here in a second. After FaZe in fifth place, we had Seattle 1-1 after they beat Toronto in a map 5 and then lost to LA Thieves. What do you think about Seattle beating Toronto this week?
Well, with Toronto, we saw them going back to back with literally the same things and the same hitting the swing round
Mm-hmm.
and being able to come back, just not being able to capitalize in game five. But Seattle, they're looking prime, right now at least. I'm looking to see what they're doing. It was a little bit of a surprise for me that they beat Ultra, but it was also, I think, a bigger surprise for me to see Ultra go down 0-2 this weekend.
Yeah,
That kind of threw me off.
we'll talk about them here in a second. But Seattle also lost to LA Thieves, so Seattle beating a really good team in Toronto, but also losing against LA Thieves. Just show you kind of a little bit about how well LA Thieves are playing right now. Boston
And that
also,
was in a 3-1 fashion.
yep. Boston also 1-1 after the first week of Major Four, losing to Vegas, of course, in Standy's opening game, and then beating Toronto, like you said, in the same exact fashion that they did that they lost to Seattle in. What do you think about Boston? As we have a little bit of some breaking news coming in on Boston here in a little bit. What do you think about them?
I think Nero was frying, like absolutely frying,
Yeah,
and it was definitely some good games to watch. I mean, they were on point. Their rotations and their breaks were hitting, especially versus Toronto, one of the number one breaking teams in the league. And yeah, I thought it was great.
yeah. We're gonna also just break the news for you. It appears that Vivid has been benched on that Boston squad for one of their challenger players, Kremp. I don't know. Have you heard of this guy, Kremp Cat?
I want to say I've seen his name in places, but I mean, I've never heard much of him, or
If I
I've never
remember
seen any
right,
of
he
his gameplay.
changed his name to Kremp from something else. But now that I
Hmm.
think about that, I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't think he's been Kremp. I think he actually was another name. But yeah, he supposedly is a pretty high caliber slayer. Doug Sensor Martin's been talking him up. Obviously, he's been on that Boston Breach Academy team, playing with Doug Sensor Martin. Um, Obviously, they had Beans come up already from that Boston Academy squad. So hopefully that Kremp guy will get a little bit of good reps here going into next week. Um, I believe they are playing London Royal Ravens first, actually, so might be a good game for him to jump in on, Cat.
Yeah, London, especially with that new player and how they just dissolved into the ether, it's going to be a nice introduction for him to come in and kind of get his feet wet. And also, he used to compete under the alias Volants,
Oh, that's right.
Volants.
That's what it was. But
So just a little fun fact, I guess.
yeah, I remember just seeing that name, but then I remember him changing that name. But going into the eighth place from 8 through 12 for this week, LAG 0-1 had just the one loss to Rocker on the that little homestead. Even though Joe Deceives playing well, still not able to beat Fame in their little honeymoon phase of Rocker. I just gonna chalk that one up to a honeymoon phase. Plus, they had that home crowd on their side. I don't think that LAG really had any shot this week.
Yeah, honestly, me neither. I'm with you completely on that one.
Clayster and a few of the pros were kind of upset about the whole homestead situation there that they had because before this week, Vegas was only 10 points away from catching the Minnesota Rocker, and now they're 20 points away from catching Rocker, even after a win. So,
Even after a win.
so a little bit of a gripe there that he has with the little homestead thing, but we'll talk about this here in a little bit. We had the Minnesota Rocker COO come onto the flank and talk with them guys on the flank, which I took some notes on, which I'm gonna kind of point on that here in just a minute in the podcast. We also in ninth place Toronto, obviously 0-2. The two L's against Boston and Seattle in the same exact situations, basically losing both game fives. They're not going to like losing game fives like that when they were almost reverse sweep 2 games this week. What do you think about Toronto?
Like I said earlier, man, it was just crazy to me that it happened to them twice in a row, and they just couldn't capitalize on that final SMD in either match. And
They're
I
usually
mean,
so good
maybe
at
it was a
S&D too.
snowball effect.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they, got into their own heads a little bit, but usually they're on point.
Yeah, they
I do want to say that Kleenex was on fire. That
yeah.
dude was phenomenal both series, but it just wasn't enough to keep him alive. I think
I
Scrap could have picked it up a little more as well, especially in the last series.
I think it maybe humbled them down a little bit, but I think that they're going to come back and have a pretty decent showing next week. And second to last, we had Florida 0-2, losing to Rocker and FaZe. Um, Obviously, Florida not playing so well after their change. Fellow with the sniper is looking pretty tasty, but Florida losing both games not looking pretty for them.
I think Fellow with the sniper might just be game to game. I'd like to see it in his hands a little bit more. Um, that double kill that he got was
Yeah,
insane.
that's on a short that I made too.
But Minnesota Rocker 3-0'd the Mutineers, which was,
Yeah, and
I
they
don't know,
went
kind of
they
made you think about the Rocker home series being online, etc. Then also FaZe just barely coming back and
yeah
getting Florida 3-2.
yeah they just barely won that map 5 too. If you remember,
Mm-hmm.
Florida was actually in the driver's seat. I think 4 maps to 2 even in that map 5, and FaZe just come back, roll back, and
Came
just
back.
absolutely destroyed them. And then
If it's one thing the
obviously,
Tiny Terrors know what to do, it's to clutch up.
oh yeah, and obviously in last place, London 0-2 on the week, losing both to Optic and the LA Thieves. Not much that you can say much about Yuli's start, except for I think they just need a little work if they're going to keep with this
Yeah.
roster.
Yeah, maybe they just need to flow a little bit. Give them a little bit of time. We'll see.
Yep. Going into our next little segment of the week, we're going to go and pick a couple of the what we're going to call the hard carry heavyweights of the week, as they are going to be a little bit of an extra carry for some of them superstars on their team. The first one of the week, we got Kenny, who dropped a donut in S&D But in that S&D, he was a hard carry by Draza, who went 11-0. What do you think about Kenny this week?
We didn't see much of him. A little bit of Y and a little bit of Y, and that
Yeah,
was about it.
like I said, LA Thieves absolutely rolled them, but Kenny popped a donut in that game, so he was a little bit of a hard carry heavyweight, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Um, then also we had one specific play by Fame, who for the most part played really well this week, but there was a moment when Joe Deceives was walking right in front of him at the stairs on El Asilo, and he was just watching him, and then Joe Deceives just turns around and shoots him in the face.
Yeah, yeah, he must have thought that that was his teammate or something, and that's the same thing that Tactical Rab said as well.
Yeah, he said that there was
Like, there's no way he saw him.
he
He
got a
had to have
call
seen him.
out that said I'm going up the stairs. And apparently the
Oh,
guy to his right in that green building was going up the stairs, and he thought that he
mm-hmm.
meant he was right in front of him. So
Dang.
kind of a bad call
Well, it
out.
happens.
And then also our last hard carry heavyweight of the week was Scraps from the London Royal Ravens, who only had 27 total kills against Optic at a .35 KD ratio. The hardest carry heavyweights of the week: Kenny, Fame, and Scraps. What you think, Cat?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Scraps, man. Fat kid's lag, and this guy's heavy.
Oh, he was heavy this week. He was
Yeah,
heavy
there's
this
no way
week.
you can finish a series out or a weekend out even
You
with
know,
less
and
than 30 kills.
you know what
No chance.
the funniest part about this was? So I'm looking up the stats and trying to find the hardest carries of the week. And I
Hmm.
originally was gonna go after Yuli until I looked at the
Yep.
stats that Scraps had for the week.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, no. That one he's just gonna have he was just a little bit harder carry than
In
Yuli
my
this week.
opinion, I don't think Joe Deceives deserved a spot on the list.
No, Joe
Simply
Deceives
because of
wasn't on the
that
list, it was
one.
Fame. It
Oh,
was
okay,
Kenny,
Fame.
Fame,
Yeah,
and
yeah, Fame,
Scraps.
Fame. Well,
Fame
Fame.
probably
I don't
doesn't
believe Fame
deserve. It was
deserved.
just that single play.
It was just that one spot, and it. Well, he had a little better awareness,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
the
yeah.
call out on top of
But if
everything.
you watch it back, man, it just looks terrible because he's
Yeah,
just like,
it's kind of cringe.
oh.
Yep.
um, but
But we've
yeah,
all been there too.
moving on. The Minnesota Rocker COO went on the flank this week, talking about how they want to do more of these homestead land, uh,
Hmm. We got two more
events.
coming up.
Yep, they got one more coming up next month.
I want to say it's London
They said
and
London
who
and
else?
Boston, I think. Yeah,
Boston. I think that's right.
that are gonna be coming, and they originally wanted all the teams to have the
Right.
ability to do this, but obviously some
Well,
teams aren't gonna have like they said, if if Vegas tries to put on this event, they're literally having it in Clay's garage. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So obviously some teams don't have the ability slash the money to put on these events, but then there's a few that do. What do you think? Yeah, is that an advantage?
Yes. Competitively, I do believe it is, but on the same side, because there's always two sides to every coin. On the same side, that this is just a starting point on what could be in the future. You know,
Yeah,
I believe that these home series things with the crowd and everything, I mean, it's amazing to watch. It's amazing to watch from home. I mean, these people get to go and buy tickets and be there, which is what we all love. You know what I mean, as fans. And the players love it because they get to be in front of the crowd. But this is also going to be paving the way for the future for the CDL to kind of grow and fill those shoes that the CW used to wear. And those are some big shoes.
yeah, definitely. And I just think it's gonna help grow, as in it's just a different way for them to make money rather than just relying
Right,
on the sponsors and the
right. It's
viewership
another form of
from the
revenue
yeah,
coming
it's
in.
a different form of revenue that these teams can do. Whether they have to rent out a stadium, because
Or a bar.
like I said, Vegas Legion is pretty much all set up in Dallas. They could get
Right,
they could get the esports arena, I bet.
right.
Like, They could.
You could
That's
pay Hex,
yeah.
some odd amount of
They could
dollars
all
a
go to the
band,
hex
and Hex said
quarters.
he'd do it.
Right.
Hex is down. Well, Hex owns that arena,
Right.
or maybe not Hex, but Optic does.
Right. So like,
And so, I mean, right then and bam, there you go.
when they already have multiple teams in Texas, that's the thing. Like, they are. I think they already have like 3, 4, or 5 teams out of the 12 already in the Dallas area. You
Right,
know,
and the teams that are elsewhere, Texas is kind of like a middle point
and it has the
for
best
these
internet.
teams
They
in
always
between
talk
LA and
about.
Florida.
They always talk about Texas having the best internet. Why not just go there for most of your stuff?
Right.
You know,
Well, as long
or
as you have a venue,
or a place
I
like
think it's a too
Toronto where
much.
they got that Bell Fiber.
Bell
But yeah,
fiber,
we're
not
hoping that
plug.
they some teams can maybe figure out something. Like I said, maybe they just figure out a neutral location close
Right.
to where obviously the Vegas Legion. It'd be pretty badass to have a freaking event in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's tons of spots to rent.
Right. So, hoping that they maybe take the Minnesota Rockers initiative and jump on that and maybe have more Homestead series next year and going into the future. So, last little bit, we're just going to talk about next week's matches. Next week, we have the bounty matches coming up, which
Ooh, baby, baby.
which means every game that is labeled as the bounty matches have an extra $10,000 on the line to the winners. Basically, you're going to split it. I think it's just split for the players. So 2,500, you're paying for a $2,500 bonus in your check. You know what I'm saying? Just for
hours of
winning
play.
this one game. So the first
Yeah.
bounty match and the first matches of the week on Friday, we got starting London Royal Ravens versus Boston Breach and a bounty match. What do you think about that, Cat?
Breach.
Breach,
Easy
definitely.
breach. I mean,
Easy
as far as
breach.
London's looking right now,
I
easy
mean,
breach. Not
as
even a question.
even with Kremp coming in, I think that's probably the easiest 10K they'll ever make.
Oh yeah, easy.
So, second game, Seattle Surge versus the Florida Mutineers, the Battle of the Waves in a bounty
Ooh.
match. That's going to be a good one.
Huh. Yeah,
As
that'll be a good
remember,
one.
Seattle
I'd like
did
to.
did beat shoot, they beat Toronto last week at the very end.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with Seattle on this one. This one's gonna be close. I think a lot closer than we think. Florida, it has the ability to upset anyone at any time. I think.
But I believe Seattle does too.
Oh yeah. Oh, Seattle definitely has they have the ability to be top 4 if Mac doesn't poop his pants.
Choke. Yeah, I go
So
with the same thing you're going with. Seattle for me.
so Seattle probably 3-1. I'm saying. I think if
I'd
it
like to
goes
see
to
a
map
3-2.
5, maybe Florida has the advantage, but I think Seattle still wins it. Then in the last game of Friday, we got the Minnesota Rocker versus NYSL in a bounty match.
Ooh, that's NYSL all day. Hydra's just gonna roll them. But
Yeah,
I mean, it could go either way.
we
But
could
yeah,
still
I'm
be
looking
in
to
a
see
honeymoon
NYSL take
period
that.
with Rocker and Fame, so that could be a
Well,
very good
Fame's the
match.
only one performing.
Very true. I like Afro still, but I agree with you 100%. I think NYSL is going to take this one. Another easy 10K in their bank account.
I'm gonna have to make a Twitter account called Afro's Tongue.
It is out all the time. Then we have
Yep.
Saturday, only one bounty match to end the day, but it's going to be a banger. But this one's not a bounty match. We got the Vegas Legion versus London Royal Ravens. What you think about this one?
I mean, I'd like to see Vegas take it, but I feel like
You think London?
I don't know, man. I
I
don't
don't.
know.
I'm not betting against. I'm not. I'm not saying London's winning
I
one
don't bet
until they
against
show me
players.
something a little more. So I'm gonna go with Vegas this one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go with Vegas, but I've
London has the
seen
ability
Vegas
to upset
choke.
that one though. Yep. Second game of the day, the Los Angeles Thieves versus Los Angeles Gorillas, the Battle of LA.
Yeah, that's gonna be an easy Thieves, I believe.
I think you're probably right. Easy
Yeah,
Thieves
LAG just don't seem
3-0,
like they're held
3-1.
together, and
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like they have the backing anymore to switch around members like
Oh,
they
they
want
definitely
to,
don't.
or you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the money's there the way I understand it. They're just not wanting to put it towards that.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So,
And then third match of the Saturday, a banger: Optic Texas versus NYSL.
oh, you already know me and Optic, baby,
Oh yeah,
and
we're
that will
definitely
be a
going
banger.
Optic,
But
but
let's
that
go
one's map
Optic.
5,
Green wall all
definitely.
day, but that's going to be a huge match. I think that one's going to be one to watch for
Not that
sure.
one was not a bounty, but this next one is Toronto Ultra versus Atlanta FaZe
Ooh,
in
that's
the
going to be a
last
good one
match of
too.
Saturday for
I
the
always
bounty.
vote against phase. I don't like phase. Just my
I think
personal
Toronto. This will be. Remember,
feels,
this
but
will be Toronto's match that they have to win. I think because they're already
yeah,
0-2. Um, they're gonna be going into a bounty match that they really want to win. Uh, I want Toronto to win, but I'm gonna probably go with FaZe on this one.
really.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go
I
with
think they're gonna
Toronto as
want it
always.
too bad. You know how you want it
Yeah,
so badly that you make
when that
mistakes.
clutch up comes, man,
Yeah.
that's either
Then
clutch or go home at that point.
that's gonna be the last match on Saturday, and then we go into Sunday and one bounty match. Remember is Los Angeles Gorillas versus Vegas Legion. That one's gonna be good
Vegas Legion and Gorillas. That's gonna be a good match too. I'm gonna
in a
have to go with
bounty.
Clayster on that one though.
Yeah, probably the same.
I'd like to see
LAG's
it.
I think gonna fall apart. Like you said, they just can't really make any
Yeah,
changes right now because they ain't
I
got
mean they don't
backing
have the
for it.
morale. They don't
Right.
have any morale left. They're not. I mean, it's like
Unless
this is
RCDs
probably
can
gonna be
get
the
them
last year you
all on
see
the
that
same
team.
page again, but that's gonna be tough. I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
tough. The second match of the day, non-bounty, Florida Mutineers versus Toronto Ultra. I think Toronto's gonna rickroll final.
Yeah,
That's gonna be the first one. Toronto is gonna have the ability to really get in the driver's seat and just take off with
yeah.
it.
I think it's going to be a 3-1.
Yeah, same. And then the last
I
match
think there
of
will be a swing
Sunday,
home, but
the bounty match, Optic Texas versus Los Angeles Thieves.
ooh, that's going to be a good game too. That's
Another
going to be one to watch for
Yeah,
sure.
another great game. That's going to be a bounty game for $10,000. Optic versus Thieves. I like Optic, but LA Thieves in first place in the standings right now. Going to be hard to
Mhm.
stop.
The Prince of Thieves versus the Dark Knight. We'll see what happens.
Yep, that should be interesting. Remember, we're going to try to start doing these hard carry podcasts between matches in the week, or if a lot of news comes up, let's say 3 roster changes happen tomorrow, we might come up with a short hard carry podcast. But that's gonna pretty much cover us for this week. Do you have anything left to end out with, Kat?
I think that'll do it. I like how we keep it short and sweet, and let's keep these things rolling.
Yep, we appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out. Thank you guys checking out the Hard Carry Podcast episode 1. Stick around for more CDL content. Stay tuned.